Hello there guys, Bilbo10000 here, bringing you another Twitter Theory video for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Once again, I've got so many people sending suggestions with the hashtag BBTT, Billy Bay Twitter Theory, and it makes me so happy. But I did promise that today's topic would be covered during a previous video, so we're gonna get to it. But before we get to today's topic, I want to quickly address the Erdrick thread from the last Twitter thread video. After the video was released, the creator apparently expressed some unhappy feelings with their personal thread, noting there were a few mistakes and misinformation, and as such, another user has created an absolutely massive Word document on Erdrick's chances, and that's something I'll possibly be taking a look at either tomorrow or the day after, so keep an eye out for that. Also, my Ant Farm Survival Episode 1 just passed 1,000 views! That's absolutely brilliant for a Minecraft series, especially in 2019, after I haven't done major Minecraft content for over half a year now. I wasn't even getting those views when I used to do Minecraft content, so I just want to thank everyone for tuning into the Ant Farm series. It's easily been my favorite series to record in a long time, and if you want to check it out, we're almost halfway through the series, and it releases daily. Click the card in the top right corner for a link to the playlist. Now then, today's thread topic is on the possibility of an Undertale character potentially being DLC, and it's more likely than maybe we first thought. And today's thread was created by the user Trace Oglesby at OglesbyTrace on Twitter. It's a fairly lengthy, yet also straight to the point thread, and given I gave Sans and basically any Undertale characters a 0% and rate their chances, perhaps this could convince me to bump up their rating a little bit. So, let's have a read, shall we? Hello there, Billy Bay 10K. I've got a Smash DLC theory for you. I know you recently rated this series with a 0% in rate your chances, but give me a shot here. Undertale has more credit than people probably expect. 1. Undertale has been in the top 30 of the Switch eShop total sales in the millions, almost non-stop since release. Impressive even for non-indies. Deltarune is the only indie out of the last two directs, one focused on indies, to get its own news card on the Switch home screen. Now, Undertale's sales are undeniable. It's a popular game that's been out since 2015, and getting the game on a handheld system is a no-brainer given the gameplay. If there's an indie game that's made the round sales-wise, Undertale is up there, but if we're talking about Switch sales, it's not the only one. With a very similar story to Undertale, Hollow Knight has also had an exceptionally similar story on Switch, and sold just as well, if not better in some cases, than Undertale's Switch version, with both games consistently being featured in the charts of various eShops, and today I looked at the UK eShop and Hollow Knight's sitting at 12th, while Undertale's at 23rd. That being said, Deltarune getting its own segment in the last direct, as well as a home screen splash screen, was a surprise, and that is a completely fair point in Deltarune's favour. 2. Indies are important to gaming. Nintendo realizes this, expanding indie ties. They have even been running ads that use indies to push the console, rather than in-house titles. They've even handed Zelda to an indie team for Necrodancer, for the first time since the CDI Zeldas. This is an undeniable fact. Indie games have become such a mainstay of the current gaming climate, and Nintendo has been the most hospitable towards them. It is surprising that an indie character hasn't reached playable in Smash yet. The question remains though, who would it be and why? Hopefully this thread explains further why Undertale could take that shot. 3. Due to a smaller dev team, as opposed to mega corporations like Square Enix or Microsoft, and Toby's usual generosity with his IPs with fan stuff, rights would be very easy to handle. It'll probably be low cost, and while business is not everything, it matters a whole lot for DLC. That's also a very fair point. Rights aren't much of an issue with most indie-developed games, but at the same time, while this argument is a fair point for Undertale, it's also a fair point for pretty much any game that isn't made by a big company. I feel like negotiations are a non-factor unless your character's from a massive company like Square Enix. So this point is less a point towards Undertale, and more a point towards the majority of the gaming space. 4. Toby Fox is one for hints on his upcoming work, albeit super cryptic. but he's not usually one for references, that is besides this little gem. For a game that's low in references, to yell Smash Brothers, it's interesting. Shantae, Shovel Knight, and Persona also did so. Okay, so, and here's my thing. The problem with references is that while there are certainly franchises who have made the jump to playable who have referenced Smash before, the opposite is also the case. It makes more sense to think that this could be a reference to the fact that Deltarune would eventually make its way to Nintendo platforms, or could be a nice nod to Nintendo for allowing Undertale on the Switch. I feel like it's far too blatant a reference for it to actually mean an Undertale character is definitely coming to Smash. And also, bringing up Shantae and Shovel Knight, both franchises got spirits and an assist trophy at best, so what's to say Undertale might just get some spirits added in an update as opposed to a fighter, given those two franchises had people voting for their characters as opposed to Undertale. 5. Big point. Nintendo promised us unexpected picks. With Shovel Knight and Shantae as assist trophy / spirits, most assumed indies as a whole were dead and moved on. Now that would be a ruse, huh? Bury the hopes for an entire category, then blindside us with it later? Fulfills that surprise. I don't doubt that Nintendo will surprise us with their picks, but the logic that because all the other characters are dead so that means Undertale will just have to be picked is a little flawed. Firstly, there's the whole thing about whether there actually is an indie rep, and secondly, Undertale hasn't had the same support that prior IPs have had in the past, at least not to the same extent. I mentioned this before, but for fans of Shovel Knight and Shantae, or any other indie that had support during the era of the Smash ballot, the addition of Undertale, whose requests didn't really gain much traction until Ultimate was announced, could be seen as a bad move on Nintendo's part. That being said, Undertale is the most likely indie candidate left standing if we assume spirits are dead, and your point could very well end up being the case here. It's a 50-50 shot. 6. Toby Fox started to learn Japanese last year and visited the region a lot. While its obvious uses are to give Deltarune a Japanese setting, and to presumably visit Nintendo for Undertale and Deltarune, embracing both Japanese and English audiences helps reputation in Smash's two biggest regions. I can't fault this point, actually. While it's more likely, as said in the tweet, Toby learned the language so he could give Deltarune a Japanese setting and to negotiate with Nintendo for his games, it is a plus that by doing this, Undertale is gaining popularity in Japan. That being said, that could also point towards Undertale being less popular in Japan by default, as this was quite a recent occurrence. 7. It's obviously a widely requested series, but it also doesn't struggle with content like many series do. Like you recently said, how do you even pick a Phoenix Wright stage? But Undertale has a ton of stages, spirits, music, and even several possible fighters, although most assume Sans. Well, Undertale technically isn't a series yet. I don't think 2 games, which are technically only connected by characters that aren't even the same in both canon, count as a series just yet. But I agree Undertale has a plethora of potential locations to draw inspiration from, though the basic pixel sprite nature of the game could make translating the various locations more difficult than not. I also agree that Sans is the likely character who would make it in, nothing on Frisk, Chris, or Kara, but they're not exactly brimming with a moveset. And Sans makes the most sense on the basis of plot relevancy, as aside from Flowey, Kara, and Azrael, he's the most important character after Frisk when taking into account every run of the game. Compare that to Papyrus or Undyne, who are also brought up, who have their arcs, but don't stay relevant across every area, unlike Sans, who shows up in every location in the game. 8. Deltarune's later chapters, which are paid, letting both sides gain on a tie-in, will probably release in 2019 or 2020, which increases both recent relevance and future tie-in potential. Now this one's a bit contentious, as we really don't know much about potential new release dates for Deltarune's chapters. We do know that he's probably going to finish the project now it's on a Nintendo platform, but 2020 really feels like the earliest we'll see something happen, given Toby took years to make the original Chapter 1 for Deltarune. Because of the unpredictability of the project, it can't really be used as an argument for an Undertale character being a promotional tie-in pick. Point 9. This is the least concrete point, but this video had its first upload taken down by Nintendo. The only other cases I have been told of, not even found, like it are a banjo song presented the same way, banjo being regarded as a lock by now, and other songs already in the game that got posted pre-release. The gist, posts like this, video, are very rarely taken down unless they're leaked or pre-release, and as far as I am aware, deconfirmed potential fighters or mega unlikely ones aren't getting hit the same way. Okay, so I listened to that video myself, and I can safely say that's a fan-made remix, possibly even a joke remix, because the entire video just consists of the first, most iconic part of the song, the da 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 da, and it does that for the entire video, and it doesn't include the da 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 da. And when you only include the first part of the song and you cut out like 3/4 of it, there's no way that's going to be a remix, and there's no way they would do that for over a minute without bringing in the rest of the song. It just doesn't make sense. So let me get, where the hell was I on this script? I got copied, sidetracked by the melody. Okay, alright. So yeah, there's so much of the other track missing, and the instrumentals just don't have the same quality as the in-game songs we already have. And a potential reason for the takedown of that video is that the title phrases the music track like it's actually a track in-game, and Nintendo may not want false advertising going around. But either way, the actual music in video is just a loop of the same segment of track and doesn't sound like it fits in Ultimate. And 10. As a side note, explaining why leaks on Undertale and Deltarune are and will stay rare, Fox's team is so small, only he and any relevant artists would need to know, and Nintendo's serious about NDAs. Leaks would be easier to trace, so if we don't see lots of hints and leaks, that explains it. It's a fair point in theory, but past leaks for pretty much anything have shown that it's almost impossible to keep things that far under wraps. Someone out there will always get the urge to leak information, and while Toby Fox's team is small, Nintendo is going to know about this, and not everyone at Nintendo is a saint when it comes to leaks or discussions. And on top of that, I think it's important to ensure that Sans or an Undertale aren't in because no leaks are coming out with them on it, as it could very well just mean the characters aren't in so they can't be leaked. I feel like it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous way of thinking about it. It's a very double-edged point, as it could mean, yes, the character is in and is being well hidden, or it could just mean the character's not being worked on, and you're making assumptions. If you do read this, thank you, Billy. Love that you're doing these. This was fun to write, and I'd love to see what people think, and thank anyone else who gave this a read. Best of luck for all the fighters you hope for, too. Okay, so I did give this thread a bit of a hard time with some of the points, but after looking at this thread, I can safely say that an Undertale character is slightly more plausible under the right conditions. I don't know if it would be the best move reputation-wise, as an Undertale character could rightfully annoy Shovel Knight or Shantae fans who tried to get the character in years ago via the ballot, only for Undertale to get in via another method. And Undertale would be a good first indie rep, recognizable game, popular in the current climate, future content coming. You could say the same for Hollow Knight, honestly, but Undertale's been around for 2 years longer, so it takes priority and seniority. I still personally don't think an indie rep is that likely, though, as this is finally Nintendo's best chance to secure characters from big companies in the West, like Microsoft. But you've convinced me that 0% was a bit harsh on Sans, even if I personally still think he won't get in. So thank you everyone for watching. If you want to check out the thread, you can take a look at the link down below. Take a look, read it for yourselves, make your own impressions. Do you think this thread has convinced you that we're getting an Undertale character? What are your thoughts? Leave them down below. Thank you for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.